Sanmunani, my name is Lwazi Khoza, and as a student, I'm very worried about life during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. And today, I'm joined by the Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Mr. Buti Manamela, to answer my questions on life on campus as we roll back into campus. Come and join me. This period in our lives has taught a lot of us that we are not ready. We're not ready if things were to go out of the normal that we know and things were to no longer be in our control as a human population, we're not ready. And I'm sure that this period has been such a learning curve for yourself and your colleagues and the rest of the department at large. Do you mind sharing with me what it is that you've realized that, what it is that you've noticed as an obstacle, one, but secondly, what it is that you've learned from this particular period?
Look, the biggest lesson for us as the department has been the balance between the autonomy of institutions and how, when you deal with disaster management, you have to centralize decision-making and authority, and how the two, to a particular extent, were competing. And I think also the extent within which we need to urgently move towards a single nationally coordinated higher education system or post-school education and training system. Because, you can say, look, we closing down institutions on this particular date, and then some universities decide, no, we're actually going to stay a day or two longer, which compromises, the country's response towards that. We've also, had to deal with, for instance, some institutions rolling out their own programs just because they can, and much to the detriment of some of the students in those, instances. That was part of the bigger challenge. But what we need to be, doing is, I think, to start building the ark, long before the floods come. What we're doing essentially now is, trying to build the ark whilst the crisis has already hit, and we sometimes do not even have the sufficient material for us to be able to do that. And that's one of the things that I think we really need to be navigating. We take it for granted that systems are in place in all our institutions to be able to respond to situations such as this, precisely because authority has been devolved to those institutions. But at the end of the day, if lives are lost, the state remains responsible and sometimes even culpable in that loss of life. So I think that kind of a balance is going to be very crucial. But even more important, although we're learning lessons from countries which had the worst in terms of the impact of COVID-19, Italy, the UK, the US, China, and all of that, we also have to respond to peculiar conditions of our own, where people's processing of information is completely different. People regard this as, as a virus of people who travel, for instance, and there's a proliferation of fake news, which we had to fend off. So all of those means that in as much as it is important to consult and to engage and to take people along, it is also important to instill principles of some centrality of authority without being dictatorial, but also, to get to a point wherein the primacy of life is shared by all of us. It's not a responsibility left to the president, and our role being to be his critics or that of the National Coordinating Command Council, but that it must be the responsibility of each and every South African.